Kitty and the Sneaky Mouse Squad. In a cozy little house at the edge of Maplewood Lane lived a fluffy orange cat named Kitty. Kitty wasn't just any cat, she was smart, playful, fast, and proud of her shiny whiskers that curled at the ends like tiny springs. She spent her mornings basking in sunlight, her afternoons chasing butterflies, and her evenings lounging on her favorite red cushion. Life was calm. Life was peaceful. Life was perfect. Until the night the Sneaky Mouse Squad arrived. The mysterious midnight noises one night. Kitty was snoring softly when, scritch, scratch, squeak, her eyes snapped open. "What in the world?" she murmured. She padded quietly toward the kitchen. The moonlight shone through the window, casting long shadows. Kitty's ears twitched. Her tail flicked. Then she saw it. A flash of tiny grey fur. Followed by another. And another. 3 mice were tiptoeing across the kitchen floor carrying a giant piece of cheese. Kitty gasped. "Hey, that's my cheese." The mice yelped and dropped the cheese. They scrambled behind a chair, whispering loudly. "Squad, we've been spotted. Retreat." "No. We stick to the plan." Kitty marched forward. "Plan? What plan?" "Give me back my cheese." Suddenly the mice jumped out dramatically. They wore tiny black headbands. They had tiny utility belts. One even had a tiny paper map. Together they shouted, "We are the Sneaky Mouse Squad." Kitty blinked. "Why are you shouting?" The tallest mouse stepped forward. "We are on a mission. Operation Cheese Snatch." The smallest mouse added, "And you, Madam Fluffball, cannot stop us." Kitty's tail puffed up. "Madam what?" The chase was on. The great kitchen chase. Kitty sprang forward. The mice squeaked and dashed in 3 directions. The tall one dived into a bowl. The tiny one climbed the curtains. The chubby one rolled under the table, tumbling like a wheel. Kitty lunged after the bowl mouse first. She flipped the bowl empty. He popped up behind her. "Missed me." Kitty spun around. She dashed toward the curtains where the tiny mouse clung like a little acrobat. He giggled. "Bet you can't catch me, Miss Whiskers. You rodents need better insults," Kitty grumbled. She leapt, and the tiny mouse jumped off the curtain and landed on her head. "Wee!" he cheered as Kitty stumbled around. "Get off!" Kitty sputtered. Meanwhile, the chubby mouse had quietly pushed the cheese toward the door. Almost, he whispered. But Kitty spotted him. "Hey! Drop the cheese, Chunky." The chubby mouse squeaked, "My name is Max, thank you." Kitty pounced toward him, but he rolled away like a soft little potato. Kitty slid across the floor and bonked into the fridge. The 3 mice regrouped at the door. "Squad formation," the leader shouted. They stacked themselves into a wobbly totem pole. Then they saluted dramatically. Kitty growled, "Oh, you are so getting caught." But before she could leap again, the lights turned on. Caught by the human, Kitty froze. The mouse squad froze. Kitty's owner, Mrs. Maple, stood in her robe holding a cup of warm milk. "What is going on in here?" Kitty opened her mouth. The mice opened their mouths. Everyone pointed at each other. Mrs. Maple sighed. "No chasing in the kitchen, Kitty. And you 3 out." She scooped up the mice with a dustpan and gently set them outside on the porch. The mice glared at Kitty. Kitty glared back. "This isn't over," the leader yelled. Max added, "We'll be back for the cheese." Mrs. Maple shut the door and scratched Kitty's head. "Good girl. Now go back to sleep." But Kitty did not sleep. She sat by the window, staring into the darkness. The Sneaky Mouse Squad would return. The Mouse Squad returns the next morning. Kitty strutted into the living room, proud and refreshed. Then she froze. Her toys were scattered. Her cushion was upside down. Someone had drawn a mustache on her framed photo. Kitty hissed. "The mice." Suddenly a tiny paper airplane flew across the room and landed at her feet. Kitty unfolded it. Inside was a message. "Dear Kitty, we challenge you to a duel. Meet us in the garden at noon. Love, the Sneaky Mouse Squad." Kitty gasped. "A duel? In my own garden?" She sharpened her claws. She stretched her legs. She even practiced a dramatic hero pose. "No mouse will outsmart me," she declared. The garden duel at noon, Kitty stepped into the garden with fierce determination. The sneaky mouse squad waited on a rock, wearing tiny helmets and leaves as capes. The leader pointed a twig sword at her. "Kitty, today we find out who is the true champion of Maplewood Lane." Kitty rolled her eyes. "I already know the answer." Max stepped forward holding a giant seed. "Your challenge is simple. Catch us before we reach the fence." Kitty smirked. "Easy." "Geo," the leader shouted. The mice scattered like popcorn. Kitty zoomed after them. She was faster than the wind. She dashed past daisies, leaped over logs, and slid through flower beds. She almost grabbed the tiny mouse, but he dove into a tulip. She pounced on Max, but he bounced off a pile of leaves. She cornered the leader, but he flipped off a pebble and somersaulted onto a branch. Kitty gasped. These little guys were good. Very good. "Retreat," shouted the leader. They sprinted toward the garden fence. Kitty blocked them, skidding in front of the fence gate. "Ha! Can't get past me," Max whispered. "Plan B?" The leader grinned. "Plan B." He slapped a button on a tiny handmade remote. Kitty raised an eyebrow. "What does that whoosh?" A huge leaf pile exploded upward, showering Kitty with hay, leaves, and flower petals. She stumbled around, covered in plant fluff. The mice dashed past her and touched the fence. "We win," they cheered. Kitty sat in the middle of the leaf explosion, panting. The leader respectfully bowed. "You are a worthy opponent, Kitty." Kitty managed a smile. "You too, little ninjas." From enemies to friends after the duel, something unexpected happened. The tiny mouse offered Kitty a berry. "For peace," he squeaked. Kitty sniffed it. It smelled sweet. She nodded. "For peace." Max waddled over. "And maybe we can share the cheese." Kitty thought hard. She loved cheese. But she also loved challenges. And the sneaky mouse squad? They were annoying, but kind of fun. She finally said, "Fine. But no stealing. Ask next time." The mice saluted. "Deal." From that day on, Kitty and the sneaky mouse squad played in the garden almost every afternoon. Sometimes Kitty chased them for fun. Sometimes they built obstacle courses for her. Sometimes they even helped her catch butterflies. Mrs. Maple would watch from the window, shaking her head. "Strangest friendship I've ever seen," she'd say. But Kitty didn't care. She finally had friends. Even if they were tiny, sneaky, squeaky ones. Thanks for watching.